What's up, guys? It's Shane here from House of Cards TCG, and today we're going to be talking about how to beat Kashtira. We're going to go over all the tech choices that I'm seeing, the hand traps, spells, traps. We're going to go over everything. Yeah, let's hop right into it. So first off, let's talk about the merch. I'm wearing the hoodie here. Get yours, link in description. They look really nice black color. Got the Millennium pattern on them. Yeah, check it out. And got a play mat out too, so go ahead and check that out. And we're gonna hop right into the end board. So this is a typical end board for the adventure build. I'm not sure exactly how popular the adventure build is gonna be, but I wanted to show it off because it has probably arguably the best end board with the Omni Negate with the Griffin. So they have the Diablosis, they have the Arise Heart, they have the Shangri-La locking out 3 of your zones, and then they have the Omni Negate with the obviously with the Griffin. They have Fateful for follow-up. They have a face down. They play cards like Imperm, could be Big Bang. So this is typically what you're going to be staring down. I just copied this off one of my duels where I was testing. So this is the end board I was facing. So first card I want to talk about is Book of Eclipse. Book of Eclipse is insane versus the Kashtira deck because all of their interactions are through monsters on the field, with the exception of like a set Imperm or Big Bang, which they couldn't even activate the Big Bang unless you control Kashtira at that point. The downside to this card is it loses out to the Omni Negate. There's no getting around that. This card isn't once per turn, so you have multiples. You can use them multiple per turn. And the other downside is they can Ash Blossom this card because it includes an effect that adds a card from deck to hand. The other downside is if you Book of Eclipse them and then you do not out their board, they're going to be drawing cards at end phase, and you're going to be in trouble. You've probably lost the game at that point. Otherwise, Book of Eclipse is really good. It's really strong. It lets you deal with their board so that you can go ahead and set up your board, use your battle phase, out their board. Book of Eclipse really strong. The next one that I'm seeing a lot of is Swords of Concealing Light. And I'll tell you why I don't like this card. So in theory, this card should be really good versus Kashtira. The problem is they have a Rise Heart, which can banish a card face down. So if you activate Swords of Concealing Light, they can chain their Rise Heart, banish it face down, and it doesn't resolve because it's a continuous spell. So it has to remain on the field to resolve. And if this was your only form of interaction, you've lost the game. Your zones are going to be locked. It's going to trigger their Shangri-La to lock out another one of your zones, and then the Diablosis to banish more cards from the top of your deck, and then lock out the final monster zone. So you'll have no monster zones after that. Next is Lunar Eclipse. I do like Lunar Eclipse a lot if your deck can plus or even generate some sort of advantage off of discarding a card. Because this one it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You can use this to target your own Ibli if they give you an Ibli. You can target 2 of their monsters. Downside is it targets, but Eclipse is really good. Lunar Eclipse is really good, and it can't be ashed. So another reason. Super Poly, really good if you can hit their Diablosis and the Arise Heart. The downside to this card is if they see that you're playing Mud Dragon in the extra deck, if they've went full combo, they've looked at your extra deck, they can rip that card out. So you would have to play 2 of that card and draw this card. So your deck would have to have a lot of space in the extra deck to be able to play the 2 Mud Dragon. And that's just really hard to do. Despia can play this card, and it's just generically good in Despia. But specifically how to beat Kashtira, it's still pretty good. It's like not a bad choice at all, but it has that downside to it. Dark Ruler No More, this card I would argue is not that good versus Kashtira, because the effect to lock out your zones is still going to be applying even after your Dark Ruler No More, because it's already resolved. It's like if they've activated Abyss Dweller in the standby and then you Dark Ruler No More, it doesn't negate the Abyss Dweller. That effect is already resolved. It's still applying. It does stop their Rise Heart, but it just doesn't do enough in my opinion. And if you can't play without 2 of your zones, or 3 of your zones locked, you're just not doing a lot. It's decent. You could play it in combination with Thrust, which we'll talk about. Here's Thrust. This card's good. You can use Thrust if they use an effect in the standby. You can search evenly matched, and then you can evenly match them. This card does lose to the Omni Negate if they have it, but otherwise it's just really good to be able to go second. You can play one-ofs in your deck. You can play one Dark Ruler. You can play one Tactics Talent. You can play one evenly. One, obviously, like engine pieces like Branded Fusion, Terraforming, etc. I like Thrust a lot. I think it has really good applications. Change of Heart. This card is not as good as I thought it was. In a previous video, I said if you Change of Heart and your zones are locked, that their Shangri-La will just go to the graveyard. That's not true. You can't even activate this card if you don't have a zone to put a card into. This card's like halfway decent if you just try to take their Rise Heart, but then they're probably just going to chain it and banish because this card targets, so it's not going to resolve. Change of Heart's just kind of mid. Regeki, bad. Don't play Regeki. Their Shangri-La just has an effect that it can just detach instead of being destroyed by card effect. And the Rise Heart, if they play the Infinitrack Goliath, which they do, they can just attach the Goliath to it, and then your Regeki does nothing. So Regeki's bad. Lightning Storm, same kind of thing, not very good. I wouldn't play Lightning Storm. I wouldn't side this in versus them. It's not like they're playing heavy back row or something. Lightning Storm, not a card outside in. Evenly it's a god card versus them. It's insane, especially if they don't have an Omni Negate or you bait the Omni Negate and then you evenly match them. They lose basically their whole board, and the deck doesn't have a lot of follow up. Sometimes they might hold a couple cards in hand for follow up. That's if their hand's really good and they're uninterrupted, but evenly matched is a really great card. This is a mandatory 3 of in the side deck in my opinion. I love evenly matched this format. It's just so good versus Sword Soul. It's good versus Despia. It's good versus everything. Imperm. This card's decent if they start off with their Unicorn and you Imperm it. That's just pretty good. You just gotta hope that they don't have an extender in hand, which you could be punished by that, but it's still a decent card. It's just generically good, so I think it's a good card this format. Nib is really good versus Kashtira. As long as they're not playing the Brave Engine. If they are, you need this plus another hand trap. So you need an Ash or an Imperm, Veiler, Mourner, etc. But you can nib their whole board, and they lose everything. And if you have combo, you pretty much won, because like I said, their follow-up is not crazy. Droll, I think it's mid versus them. If they start with the field spell, it's really good. If they start with like Unicorn searches Kashtira Theosis or Birth, which gives you another normal summon. So they still have a lot of ways to play, because the Theosis doesn't care about Droll. It just summons another one from deck. There's still a lot of things they can do. Droll's okay, this format. I don't really like it. It's pretty good versus Despia, bad versus Sword Soul, dead card versus Labyrinth, etc. Like, it's okay. Ash. Again, Ash is okay. You can Ash the Unicorn and hope they don't have an extender. That's not a good play because they're going to rip your extra deck. But the card that you really want to Ash is the Kashtira Theosis. That card, they can only use it once per turn. So if you Ash that, a lot of the times they don't have an additional extender. The additional extender would have to be like a Birth or a Scareclaw or a Tier Element Kashtira. And sometimes there's still just not a lot they can do with that. So I think Ash is really good if you hit the Kashtira Theosis. Don't do it on the Unicorn. Mourner's good. It's just a generic card that you can hit their Unicorn. Again, they're going to rip your extra deck at that point, which is not good. But it in combination with other hand traps, I think Mourner's pretty good. Just generically good against a lot of decks too. I think Mourner is a decent card, and it has the burn effect in Game 3. That could actually come up in any game, actually. It doesn't even have to be Game 3. Lancia is really good. Extremely strong card versus Kashtira. If you Lancia them, there's just not a lot they can do. All their effects really go off, and they really plus off banishing cards from your extra deck. If they can't do that, if they can't banish from the top of your deck, from your extra deck, they're just not doing a lot. So I think Lancia is a really good card in this format for Kashtira. Chaos Hunter, again, really good card. The only downside to this card is it's a level 7, and they can take it with Big Eye and then continue their combo, which that happened to me. It was crazy. Like, why'd they make this card level 7? But Chaos Hunter is a really good card. If your deck, again, can plus from discarding a card and doesn't care, If you want a card in the graveyard, it's good. I think Chaos Hunter is a good card. Kurakara Divincarnate. This card is really good. The downside is that you have to bait out the interactions sometimes. I mean, the Arise Art is a mandatory effect to banish, but you're still going to have to bait that out. If they're a good player and they don't activate the Shangri-La in the standby phase, they kind of want to play around certain cards like this, then this card isn't going to have as big of an impact as you think. But it can be really good in combination with other cards, because again, you have to bait out these interactions. If you just tribute one card and you're just not going to do enough. It can be really good. I think it has a lot of potential. Ibli is really good versus them. If you can normal summon this, make your combo, and then give them the Ibli, it stops you from getting evenly matched. It stops you from getting nibbed, lightning stormed. They can't combo if they have a monster on the field. They can't special summon monsters. This card's really good. They can't lava golem you. They can't. There's just a lot of cards that it locks out. I think Ibli is going to be a really strong card this format. And that's all we have. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, comment down below, and let me know if there's anything I missed or if there's anything that I said that you disagree with. We always like to hear your feedback, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. We're really going to be stepping up our game with the editing and just making all the videos the best quality they can be. So thanks so much for watching.